we've all felt it, right? That that brain fog, maybe forgetting details, just feeling like your mind is, well, slower sometimes.
Hmm.
What if those aren't just, stress symptoms? What if
Yeah.
they're actual signs your brain is physically changing?
It's a really important question.
Today, we're going to dive deep into the honestly kind of shocking science of how chronic stress literally reshapes your gray matter.
Yeah.
And, maybe more importantly, what you can actually do to fight back and build a truly resilient mind.
Absolutely. Because it's true, chronic stress really does go far beyond just feeling overwhelmed or mentally exhausted.
Right?
If you leave it unchecked, it doesn't just mess with your mood, it actually starts altering the physical architecture of your brain.
Wow.
Yeah, impacting pretty much everything from your memory and focus to, your overall clarity.
So our mission today, this deep dive, is
Yeah.
really to pull back the curtain on this,
Yeah.
this silent saboteur.
Exactly. Understand how it works, its mechanisms, and then arm you, the listener, with the knowledge to cultivate a mind that doesn't just sort of survive under pressure, but actually thrives.
Okay, let's unpack that then, because when we talk about chronic stress, like you said, it's not just a feeling, it's physiological, a process with real, tangible consequences for the brain's structure. And what I found really eye-opening was this idea of brain remodeling. Can you walk us through what happens inside our heads when we're constantly, on edge?
Sure, absolutely. Think of it kind of like this.
Hmm.
Your body's stress response system, it's crucial for handling immediate threats.
Right, fight or flight.
Exactly. But it releases this hormone, cortisol. Now, in short bursts, cortisol is helpful, gets you moving.
Right.
But when it's constantly elevated, because of chronic, ongoing stress, it starts acting almost like a corrosive agent on your brain.
Corrosive, that sounds bad.
It is. These high cortisol levels can actually prune away vital brain connections and even, get this, shrink certain brain areas.
Shrink them. Which areas?
Yeah. Specifically areas like the hippocampus, that's your brain's main hub for memory and learning, and also the prefrontal cortex.
Okay, the decision-making part.
Exactly. Your control center for planning, executive function, all that. So imagine your brain literally losing some of its structural scaffolding.
Wow, that's a powerful image. Losing the scaffolding. Okay, so if chronic stress is physically shrinking parts of the brain, what's happening chemically?
Yeah.
At the neurotransmitter level, how does it throw off that delicate balance?
Yeah, that's a really crucial next piece of the puzzle because you see, long-term stress doesn't just reshape the brain physically. It also disrupts the very delicate balance of key neurotransmitters.
Like which ones?
Like serotonin and dopamine. These are your brain's chemical messengers, They handle mood, motivation, even just your basic ability to feel pleasure.
Right.
So when they get out of whack because of stress, it's almost a direct route to feeling anxious or having low mood or that feeling of just not enjoying things you used to love.
So it's not just the brain's real estate shrinking, it's the communication system kind of going haywire too.
Precisely.
And I've heard people talk about brain inflammation. Is that connected to this whole stress pathway?
Absolutely connected. It's yet another insidious way stress gets under our skin, or rather into our heads. Chronic stress actively fuels what we call neuroinflammation,
Okay.
which is basically inflammation right there in the brain tissue itself.
And that causes...
Well, this is often behind that persistent brain fog we all dread, right? That mental fatigue that sleep doesn't seem to touch.
Uh-huh.
And it actually makes it harder for your brain cells to communicate efficiently. It sort of slows down your processing speed.
Okay, so slower thinking.
Yeah. And on top of that, stress makes it incredibly difficult for your brain to form new connections.
Right.
That process called neuroplasticity.
Right. Adapting and learning.
Exactly. Stress hinders that. So it makes learning harder, makes it tougher to adapt to new information, and basically makes you less resilient when new challenges pop up.
And I think I read somewhere, does it affect the blood-brain barrier too? Is that right?
That's right, yeah. If we zoom out just a bit, some research does suggest that chronic stress can compromise the integrity of that barrier.
Which is like the brain's bouncer?
Kind of, yeah. It's this highly selective gatekeeper guarding what gets into the brain. If that barrier gets compromised, well, it could potentially allow harmful substances to enter the brain that really shouldn't be there.
Wow.
What's really fascinating, though, is just how interconnected all these processes are. It's not just about feeling stressed anymore. It's about real physical changes that can impact your entire cognitive landscape.
Okay, so if all this is potentially happening kind of silently under the surface,
Yeah.
how do we know? How do you, listening right now, know if your own brain might be calling for help?
That's the key question.
Luckily, it seems the brain isn't always subtle. It does send out some pretty clear distress signals if it's feeling under siege.
Precisely. So if you're experiencing, say, persistent brain fog, that feeling of being mentally cloudy, sluggish, just unable to think clearly, that's a big one.
Okay, brain fog. What else?
Or maybe you're noticing frequent memory lapses, forgetting appointments more often, people's names, or, where you put your keys way more than usual.
Yeah, I think many people can relate to that one. And it's not just memory, right? What about focus?
Definitely. Reduced focus and attention span is another huge indicator. Difficulty concentrating on tasks, getting easily distracted, maybe jumping between activities without ever really finishing anything.
That scattered feeling.
Exactly. And then there are the emotional indicators, which are incredibly common. Things like increased irritability or unexpected mood swings.
Like snapping more easily.
Yeah, feeling easily agitated, anxious, or just experiencing emotional ups and downs that feel out of character. And finally, there's that deep chronic fatigue or burnout.
Not just tired, but exhausted.
Right, a profound mental exhaustion that even a good night's sleep doesn't seem to fix. It's there even without major physical exertion.
Okay, so recognizing these signals, even the subtle ones, that's really our first line of defense.
It absolutely is.
But, knowing is only half the battle, isn't it?
Yeah.
The real question becomes, what can we actually do about it?
Right.
And the good news for you listening is that you really do have immense power to mitigate stress's impact and actively build a more resilient brain.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do.
So let's dive into some effective science-backed strategies you can actually start using today.
Okay, first up, let's talk about mindfulness and meditation. Now, these aren't just, trendy wellness practices.
Right.
They actually work by calming your nervous system down. They help reduce that excess cortisol production we talked about earlier.
Okay.
And they train your attention, which leads to greater mental clarity and better emotional regulation.
So what's a practical way to start?
Honestly, even just starting with 5 to 10 minutes of guided meditation daily can make a difference. Or simpler still, just focusing on taking deep, slow breaths when you feel overwhelmed. That alone helps regulate things.
Makes sense. Okay, what's next? Movement.
Yes. Prioritizing movement is absolutely key. Exercise acts as such a powerful stress buster.
We hear that a lot. Why exactly?
Well, we know it releases endorphins, right? Those natural mood elevators. But it also actively reduces stress hormones like cortisol.
Ah, okay.
And it improves crucial blood flow to the brain, which directly counters some of those negative effects of stress we discussed.
So the actionable tip here, just move.
Pretty much. Engage in any physical activity you actually enjoy for at least 30 minutes most days. Honestly, even short, brisk walks provide a powerful reset. It doesn't have to be intense marathon training.
Good to know. Okay, sleep. That seems obvious, but maybe overlooked.
Hugely important and often underestimated. Sleep is your brain's ultimate nightly reset button, truly.
Why is it so critical for stress?
Well, quality sleep is crucial for regulating stress hormones, for one. It's also vital for consolidating memories so you actually remember what you learned or experienced during the day.
Right.
And fascinatingly, it enables your brain to clear out metabolic waste products through something called the glymphatic system.
The brain's cleaning crew.
Basically, yeah. It's like your brain's unique waste disposal system, and it really kicks into high gear during deep sleep.
So practical sleep tips.
Aim for a consistent sleep schedule as much as possible. Create a relaxing bedtime routine, maybe reading, dim lights, no screens, and really try to make your bedroom a sanctuary just for rest.
Okay, consistency, routine, sanctuary. Got it. What else?
Connecting and communicating. This is another powerful and sometimes overlooked strategy.
Social connection.
Yeah, social support is a profound buffer against stress. Just sharing your feelings, maintaining strong relationships, connecting with others, it reduces feelings of isolation and genuinely boosts well-being.
So reach out more.
Exactly. Regularly connect with friends, family, loved ones. And importantly, remember, there's absolutely no shame in seeking support from a therapist or counselor if you feel you need it.
Good point. Now, in our modern world, boundaries, digital detox, that seems relevant.
Oh, absolutely essential in our always-on culture. Setting boundaries and practicing some form of digital detox actively reduces that constant stimulation.
Which prevents overwhelm.
Right. It prevents mental overload and allows your brain to truly rest and recharge, which it desperately needs.
Okay, simple tip for that.
Try designating specific times each day, or maybe even a day a week, as screen-free zones. Even an hour helps. And also practice the art of politely saying no to commitments that would overextend you. Protecting your time is protecting your brain.
Learning to say no? Easier said than done sometimes.
Ah, true, but important.
Okay, finally, let's touch on food. Fueling your brain wisely.
Yes, definitely. A nutrient-rich diet provides the essential building blocks your brain needs for, say, balanced neurotransmitters.
Back to the brain chemicals.
Exactly. And it also helps reduce inflammation, which, as we establish, stress loves to fuel. So good foods support your brain's overall resilience against stress.
So what should we focus on eating?
Think whole foods, things that look like they did in nature. Lean proteins, healthy fats like avocados and nuts, and plenty of colorful fruits and vegetables.
And what to limit?
Just as importantly, try to limit processed foods, excessive sugar, and unhealthy fats. They tend to promote inflammation and don't give your brain the quality fuel it needs.
Okay, that makes sense. So lifestyle is clearly fundamental.
Absolutely paramount.
But, this raises an important question, I think. If we're doing all these things, what about giving our brains some direct, maybe targeted support, especially when stress levels are high?
That's a great point. While those lifestyle strategies are definitely the foundation, our sources do highlight that providing your brain with targeted nutritional support can significantly enhance its ability to withstand stress and, importantly, recover from it.
Okay, so it's like giving your brain extra tools.
Kind of, yeah. Think of it as providing your brain with the precise nutrients and compounds it needs to repair damage, build resilience, and fortify itself against ongoing stress.
Interesting.
Exactly. So, for instance, you'll often find comprehensive cognitive support blends that include ingredients specifically engineered to address the impacts we've been discussing.
Like what kind of ingredients?
Well, take adaptogens, for example. You might see something like Bacopa monnieri.
Okay, what does that do?
It's an ancient herb used for centuries in Ayurveda. It essentially helps your mind and body adapt to stress. It can help reduce feelings of anxiety and support memory function even when you're under pressure. Helps you stay sort of grounded and focused.
Okay, adaptogen for calm focus. What about the actual, brain cells? The structure?
Right. For cellular health, that's where an ingredient like phosphatidylserine, often abbreviated as PS, comes in.
Oh, phosphatidylserine. Got it.
It's a really vital component of healthy brain cell membranes, and crucially, research shows it plays a role in helping to regulate those cortisol levels we talked about earlier.
Modulating the stress hormone itself.
Exactly, which directly supports the brain's ability to cope with both acute and chronic stress. That's essential for maintaining mental clarity when you feel overwhelmed.
Okay, so we're supporting the physical impact. What about that neuroinflammation you mentioned, the brain fog connection?
Yeah, good question. To help counter that inflammation, many effective blends include highly absorbable forms of curcumin, which comes from turmeric.
Curcumin, I've heard of that.
Right. Since chronic stress fuels that neuroinflammation and leads to brain fog, potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory compounds like a specialized curcumin can really help clear those mental clouds and promote overall brain health. Absorption is key there, though.
Okay. And what about just energy? Stress is so draining mentally.
Absolutely. To combat that mental fatigue without adding more jitters or stress, you'll often find ingredients designed to provide smooth, balanced mental energy.
How do they do that?
Often by fueling the brain cell mitochondria. Those are like the tiny powerhouses within your cells. Ingredients like acetyl L-carnitine can help with that, sometimes combined with something like chocomine, derived from cocoa, for gentle stimulation and clarity.
Interesting. Mitochondria fuel.
Yeah.
And anything else key?
Well, optimizing blood flow is also crucial. Ingredients like ginkgo biloba are well known for supporting healthy cerebral circulation.
So better blood flow to the brain.
Exactly. Ensuring your brain gets all the vital oxygen and nutrients it needs to perform optimally, especially when it's under the cognitive demands imposed by stress.
So putting it all together, what does this really mean for you, the listener? It sounds like by integrating this kind of targeted support alongside those essential lifestyle strategies, you're not just managing stress, you're actively building a more resilient brain structure, enhancing its ability to adapt, stay clear.
That's precisely it. You're giving it the resources to better withstand the storm, essentially.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Stress, it's clearly a formidable adversary, isn't it? Capable of subtly sabotaging your brain's most vital functions, leading to that fog, the memory lapses, that feeling of just being constantly overwhelmed.
It really can be.
But, and this is the crucial takeaway, its negative impact is far from inevitable. You have agency here.
Absolutely.
By embracing those proactive stress management strategies we talked about, mindfulness, movement, sleep, connection, boundaries, nutrition, and potentially empowering your brain with comprehensive science-backed support, you really can shield your cognitive health. You can cultivate profound mental resilience.
And this really raises, I think, an important question for you to consider personally. How will you choose to invest in your cognitive well-being, your cognitive capital, if you will?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, your brain is your greatest asset in navigating, well, everything life throws at you and reaching your full potential.
And just briefly, for those looking into comprehensive support, remember there are often different tools for different needs. Sometimes you need that immediate mental boost, maybe from something fast-acting. Other times it's about foundational health, like the gut-brain connection through probiotics, or even stacked systems for overall brain wellness. Lots of options to explore.
True. It's about finding what fits your needs.
So the final thought is really a call to action. Make the choice today to protect your brain. Fight back against stress, reclaim your clarity, and start enjoying a calmer, sharper mind. Ignite your potential. Start by investing in your brain.